FRC. I was team captain and head of programming, and he used to be one of my teammates in a team called Supernova 11567. We were having 3 webinars at the Rookie Network. The first only showing the base Java, what we're going to be doing today, FTC, how they work, connect them, the different phones, connecting them together. The third webinar will be teaching the code, specifically of the competition. Okay. So starting off, this is just how you create a class in Java. We're going to use Java just because it's Eclipse, just because it's the easiest program to program Java. The competition itself, you will be using Android Studio. Okay, start off by project. You press new Java project, give it a name, and then press OK. Okay.
And then you create a class inside the project, inside the FRC.
It's one of the folders in it.
It is one of the folders in it. And then I'm going to talk about how to create a class a bit later, in a bit.
For example, when you're trying to create a class, you class name, and this is some of the more technical stuff, but you
make sure it looks just like ours. Specifically the modifiers and the method stuff, which is next to the
just make sure you check this red box and you name without spaces. We're just gonna off some important terms you need to know. A class is a block of indivisible program. It's a place that you could run or use other classes to run it. A specific set of code, a group of classes, and then here's where you write your code. Everything in between these 2 lines will run when you hit play.
Yeah. Now after that, we have another set of stuff we can do, but it's going to be in the main function, in the main program.
For example, let's start off with the most basic thing. Okay, if you want to show text information and write down system out dot print line, open parentheses, then inside you write the thing you want to show in the extension. Okay.
Close it, and then you have to write a semicolon, but because the semicolon is there because that's the syntax.
Okay, so the 2 syntaxes you need to know in Python. Write has to end with a semicolon, which is this thing. Okay, it tells the computer that you're done with the line. Okay, so you write like a specific function, like stop. You end it with a semicolon or error. Okay? So about line, go back to the present function, an example for it. Print. This is a
and we're going to talk more about the specific implications and how to use these stuff more later on. Now, if you write that correctly and you hit run with the green button right here, you will get the window which will say hello world.
For example.
Yeah.
Okay.
For example.
Let's show you an example of the code that we wrote here. You let's say print line, roses are red, diamonds are blue, and hit then you hit the text you wrote down the console. The console is what shows you all the information.
Okay.
In the application itself, you'll have something that's very similar to a console, but it looks a little bit different.
Okay. Any questions so far?
None? Words? Store. Say you store. Yeah, hold on. We didn't have the video enabled. Can you? Yes. So hello, and this is Ido.
Hi.
Okay. So store information. Let's say you pieces of information like restore. Let's say in the competition, the time that passed. Any to store, you store with variables. We can see them. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So define a variable. Off with the type that's specific to it,
An equal sign.
and then obviously you end with a semicolon. Oh shit, sorry. Semicolon. Because that's okay. So in this example, we measure, which is a type of variable. We'll elaborate on that in a second. We get year, and U is 2017. Okay, there are many different types of variables. This is what I just showed you. Stores a full number. This is more technical information, but int stores full numbers. Let's say 2017 53. To store numbers only.
Error if you use it any other way.
So then you got doubles, which are like integers,
but they store decimals.
They store fractions, which is more useful if you got things like speed, the motor, the angle that you're taking currently. That's what you use normally. Then floats and longs, which you don't actually have to use, but they do pop up sometimes in FTC. You got strings, store text.
Yeah, they can store whatever you want, but they're a special type of variable. You have to use parentheses.
Yes, use quotation marks. Sorry.
And you have long. You only use. You really have giant numbers. You usually don't see.
Generally, you usually use ints for full numbers, doubles for fractions, strings for text, booleans are for true and false.
Yeah.
We'll elaborate on a bit later. An example, let's say for int. No, wait, sorry. It's a little I choose that I.
Now you need to define a scanner, which is the thing it's a function that you use to input from the user. You can define a scanner sort of like you define a variable, but instead of store values, scanner has like functions, and you can do tasks if you ask him to. The function nextInt gets the next number the person will write into the scanner, and we'll wait until he does so. Like, it's not gonna continue until you insert the number. Now you can also use nextInt, nextDouble, and just next. There are many like these, and you can use them whenever you need to. Like, it's not really.
Okay, here we'll show some more examples. Okay, so we have our function class. Okay, with the find the scanner. Scanner works sort of like int. You start with the type. and then you create a new one. It works like integer and string, but it's a bit more advanced. Generally, if you want to create a scanner, this is how you do it. You could just copy this off the internet. It could be honestly anything. It's just
You do have to import the java.utils .scanner
no.
if you want to use it.
That automatically happens when you create a scanner. It just
Yeah, don't like delete it.
the good thing about Eclipse is that it checks the code constantly while you're writing it, and it gives you tips on how to like what you need to do or things you did wrong. Like let's say if I write int age equals 15 and then I continue, give me an error, this red thing, to complete a semicolon. There you go. And then it works. Okay. Now, our examples you could do, hold on, let's say for integers and for scanners, you have an integer, which is, let's say, amount of robots. Okay. You set it to a specific value, let's say use 4, yes. Okay. And then you could also the amount of robots change depending on the input of the user. C equals to keyboard dot int. It's not reacting. Int. This will turn that amount when I run the code into the text that I write down. Let's say run code now. Enter the amount, and then it would turn. Let's say in this line of code, what we did, we said, please enter a number, okay, and then print the number that they write down, okay. Let's that. Please enter a number. Enter, let's say 12 is 12, and then your name. Name is equals to write down. Let's say I'll write down Ido. Sorry. Then the name into the thing that we write down. Okay. Let's move. Any questions? We'll sort of elaborate on that later.
The math operations, there are 4 basic math operations you can do. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Those are between different variables, specifically number variables. You can't do that with strings, for example. You can also do some shortcuts if you want. For example, you can do num A multiplication sign equal num B. It will be num A equal num A multiplied by num B.
Okay, that was a lot of words, so we'll just try to explain that a little more. Okay, one example. Okay, the new class. We'll call it example. We have to box. Okay. Now we write down in this between these 2 lines. Let's say double to 10, double B equals to 20. C is equal A times B. Okay, code, it takes A currently 10, and then multiplies it by B, which is 20. Okay, now if we were to print this number, print C, okay, we will get
200.
which is 10 times 20. Okay. Also, let's just show another example. Let's say if we want to use scanners, so write scanner with a capital S or key equal to new scanner system in. Now to make A the second and so until the end of the main. Okay. Now, hold on, sorry. Now to add numbers like we already did, there's also other things you could do. You can also divide numbers, let's say A divided by B, to A plus B, A minus B, to do, hold on, where's it here? Let's say we A is 5 and B 2. We'll try to do A minus B. It would be in the result. A plus B would give us 7 here. Talk about them a little bit later, but let's should run this. What would be the result? Let's say here 3, here 7, here 2.5, and here 10. This is, for example, 3, 2, 1, and these are things. Now, there was something wrong here, as you could see. A by B gave us 2 and not 2.5. That's integers are only full numbers, so it automatically lowers it down to the next full number. This is something that bothered a lot in the last competition. We couldn't understand why we always round numbers when we divided 5 2.
This is kind of problematic.
You should always be careful of the type of value you're using. Okay. Oh, let's just move on. More complicated things, so we'll wait a bit on them later. We'll go back to this. There's month, which is something acts. We learned it specifically in school. It's like dividing, but instead of giving you the number you got, it gives you remainder. Then the things like math dot power. Now, J has these 4 basic operators: got minus, it's got divided, and multiplication. You also do, if you want to do things that are more advanced than this, you go, let's say, result is equals to square root of A. Sorry. This you the root of 5, but on the down, so it would probably be 2. If I turn this into a double, and we print this thing out, dot print line res, it would be 2. There you go. Okay, there's a bunch of different things you could do in math. You could do square root, tangent, a lot of the things. You just do dot, and you see down here all the different types of things. You got your absolute, cosinus,
root,
floor,
exponential.
Now we just wait. What?
We can't see. You can use them to, for to change really to the field. Like, if you want to react to what's going on right now, you can use this to sort of like and divide by 2, like the speed.
You use math for almost anything you want to do. Let's say you want to take the current rotation of the robot, or if you want to get let's say one thing we did was to get the angle of the motor and translate that to the angle of the robot to do robot time with things like that. We use math a lot. We could show some examples from previous years. They're not here currently, but basically, another question. The specifics about the things like the triggers, we're gonna say more in the third of explaining more of the basic Java. So
now, comments. Comments are stuff. Don't change the code. It doesn't do anything, but it can help you write notes to keep track of what you are doing right now and future people to see. And you can't actually, because everyone has like a different writing style and how they use like that and the code. You can usually use comments to communicate between team members when you write specific algorithms.
Comments are really important to always use. Let's say if you've got a code that looks confusing and unreadable, you write comments to try to explain the code so that other teammates would have easier time understanding. Yeah, we'll explain that in a second again. Sorry, that was a bit. But comments basically are used to make your teammates understand the code, make it more organized. Okay, wait. Okay, hold on, we'll show you a little more about that next because it's.
Now, I didn't know you actually learned C++, C#, specifically C++. It's like I said in the beginning. Most of these are very similar.
Most programming languages are pretty similar to one another, except there are small differences between Java and C++. But if you learn C++, this WebEx is sort of going over the things that you understood already. No, that's specific. Okay, now hold on, we'll go to Eclipse again, so we'll try to explain the scanners more basically. Let's go to our class we just made, example. Yes. Okay, so, you get information from the user, okay? Now, in the competition itself, you won't be getting it from the user by him writing it down. So this is not as useful for the competition, but this is useful if you want to sort of have an easier time understanding what's written down in your code. And this is more used for practice and things like that.
Hold on for a second. Now, I think there is a problem with the WebEx. Now, if you can.
No, that's
I'm not
chat
really sure.
specifically with us.
No, but I've seen the question that wasn't there.
Yeah, the question that didn't pop up.
You might have like the ability to direct your questions specifically to people. If you can, please give them to
Khayat is one of the other panelists. If you have, see what's happening. Wait. Sorry, just We see. Okay, I see. So if you do have questions, could you write it down in the Q&A and not in the specific in the to the pass so we could see it on the other computer? Hold on, see some of those questions. Sorry, we skipped them. Okay. Next works, yes. Okay, so example again.
Next is part of the syntax of the scanner. Like, it's just there because it's there. Like, there's actually reason for why it's next, but you have to write it because that's how you use the scanner. The next, you write the type that you want to get from the user, and then you get, and then you can input like a variable.
It's responding, I think. Not.
Now I think the problem.
Yeah, there's a problem with the WebEx. It's just not
Responding.
What's share? Hold on. Okay, it's back. Okay, so I'm just gonna explain scanners again. Press done. So you write down the specific name that you'd give a variable. Let's say you can call it word. This is scanner system. That's really like it has an explanation to it. It's saying that this is how to create a scanner. Okay, you could just cut this off the internet. Okay. Now, scanner works. You print things. Okay, system. System.out.print line. Okay, let's say I write down a number.
Hold on.
Sorry. Hold on.
All right. Just checking. You can all see us and hear us, right? And screen.
Yeah, you could see. Yeah, you could. Okay, so write end number. I print it out. Okay. I want to create a variable that is the number that the person entered. Say I want enter number. I create a variable. I give it the type, which is int. I name, which is input your number, and the value of this number will be the thing he writes. How do I get the next thing he writes? I do the name of the scanner, which our scanner is called keyboard, and then it's next. Okay, now we'd print this number. If we print out this number, print user number. Enter a number, we'll enter out that same number. So now user number has the value that gave it. That's how you use scanner. It's so you could check your code and to practice a little bit. Okay. Let's go back. Like we said, need to use them just like scanner. They're just they do. Not everything here is just so that you can know how. It's also to write it
in a clean way, and you need to write it like because you're in the FRC, you have to work with a group. Like, you can't program the entire robot alone. You will need others to see your code, and can so if you want to be understandable for others, you have to use comments. There's no other way.
Yeah, let's just show you how you write comments, okay? Now, if I write normal things like there's a scanner, an error because it thinks that there's a line of code. It doesn't understand what these words mean. So how you tell the computer not to check this line for errors is you add 2 slashes. This everything right in here, it just makes the code skip it. You could you should use this every time you can. For everything you use, it's really important to make sure everyone that read your code, understand it, and read it and see what it is for themselves. And it's also good for you if you want to see your code and want to finish writing it and you look back on it, it looks confusing. It's good to have a line comment whenever you could. Let's say you can add this is a scanner.
Yeah, more than once that I created a program, and then years later when I tried to look at it, I just understood nothing.
Yeah, happened to me as well.
Yeah.
One time. Also, you wanna. This is if you want to make your specific line a comment. You can also make more than one line comment by do this, and then a star. This, all of these comments. Okay, you can write here. Block. It's called block comment. Write this comment. Okay. Now, if we run the code, you could see that it will skip these lines and it won't that they're an error. Moving on. Okay.
These are very important type of variables.
Booleans are like integers. Integers, you can give them numbers. Booleans, you can only give them 2 variables. You can give them true and false. Okay? That is very specific use. Let's say you want to store information and like it's for storing information, but this one, okay, more specific use, like specific uses of Boolean. Okay, so Boolean. Okay, let's just say Boolean is equal to true. Okay. Now, if true will be true if I print it out. It'll just say true. You have true and you have false. Nothing else. This has a lot of uses in FTC.
Specifically for motors, and when you
have a simple motor that works on turn the motor yes or no. You have a Boolean. Things like that you use every day. Xbox controller. They control the robot. Has a bunch of Booleans. All buttons that you have on the robot
will be
are
pressed or not pressed. It's true or false.
Let's see a Boolean that is the A button on the controller. So it's A button. True or false? If someone press it, is it being pressed? Is it not being pressed? Boolean used for a lot of things, but that's uses you have in FTC. You can you can give a Boolean a value by making it true or false, or Boolean a value by checking 2 variables. Let's say over here got a Boolean equality, which is 2. this says equality true if this is equals to this. It's very easy to confuse one equal sign and two equal signs. One basically means this value is equals to and then a specific number or
A value.
a value. Two equals is basically a Boolean that says are two numbers equal or are two values equal. You can say int equals 0 and is equals to 1. So is equals to 1, equality will be true. If not equals to 1, it will be false. So there's a lot of different Boolean things you could run of this if something is equals to something else. If you pair numbers.
You can also use like mark and then equal to basically not equal. If n is not equal to 5, this will be true.
Let's say it's Boolean. We got 5 times 2, which is 10, is not equals to 24, which is 5. This basically says if 10 is not 5, then this is true. So like the opposite of equality. Okay, to just not false.
Yeah. Now there's also greater sign. There's less sign. And there's a lesser equal.
These you also know from basic math. Things like in a big is minus 100 bigger than 10.
Hold on. There's a question that says Boolean will help us with the moves of the robots from the control. Yes, like I said, it's like me and Paolo said, it helps you with the buttons. Like, when there are buttons that are pressed and that are either pressed or not pressed, they are defined by Booleans.
Okay, we'll try to give more examples from FTC itself. Some examples include, let's say, is the game over or not? A robot still be running, true or false? Of course, the buttons, is the button being pressed? You had something that we had in the competition. Say we had Boolean is and equals to if the was greater than 250, which is 2 minutes and a half. No, it's 80, sorry. Okay, basically check wait int equals to 0. So finished would basically be true when time the timer went above 180 seconds. That's one of the examples that we had. Wait, why is the volume covering? I don't know. Yeah.
Now you can use like stuff like this what you ever in the robot. Like booleans and doubles are the two most important variables there are.
Now some more examples on things you could do. That's grading, which is just one sign, okay? It's basically if you want to check if a value is bigger than another value. This only works with numbers. We already showed you with a timer. We have less than, if this thing is less than the other number. This is pretty self-explanatory. One to note, in this Boolean, the answer will be false. There's only less than 10, not actually less than 10. So if you want to have less or equals to this sign, which is less or equals. Okay. Now, let's say in this situation, you greater or equals. You want if the timer is 180 seconds. Now, if code, let's say, which of the things would be, let's say 1 is equals to 1. Oh wait, change that.
We changed that, so that's why it's false.
10 is not equals to 5, it's true. Mine is greater than 10, that's false. 10 less than 10, that's false. The rest is pretty obvious. Okay. You hold on. This can show some examples of the commands for moving the robot up, for example.
We don't have like codes from our here right now. We're gonna bring them either next webinar or the third one.
Basically, as we said before, this webinar we're gonna sort of try to only explain the basics of Java. The second one, the electronics, how they work, the web expansion, and previous core. Our FTC group only uses the core. And the third one, explain on how the code works, like the specific functions of Arduino, Android Studio. It basically.
Now, if you have any questions, you can ask them now.
With the understanding about the contents of the lesson. Okay, now an else statement. If statements you use quite a lot, you let's say only want to run a specific code if something happened. Okay, let's only want to. Okay. I only run a code. I only want the robot to go forwards when I press A. And to lift the arm when someone presses the X button, you use if statements if you have different options. Now, there's 3 types of if statements. There's if. There's if that checks the bool inside the parentheses. If this is true, it will load inside it. If it's true, it will. Now, else if. Else if is this true? If it's not true, this is not true, it just goes to else. Let's say in our example, we had a timer. The timer is greater than 2.5 minutes, the game ended. Else, if the game didn't end, but it's above 100, if it's above 2 minutes, then say that there's 30 seconds left, the game is still going. It has a bunch of uses, as you can imagine. This is here. Now, in parentheses, you have Boolean or a let's say like we did before. All the parameters like is 1 equals to 1. Things like now, the if statements don't work like this. You don't have, let's say we had before, like this, like other functions.
Okay, specifically, it will work because
no, it won't work. You can't have you can't have a semicolon at the end. No. If they aren't functions, they're like sort of they're that change the order that the code is written. So I say if $19 is greater than 10, okay, I have to write these curly brackets to explain what happens if. Okay, I'll write them. There's no way of knowing if this will run, only if. So if 19 is greater than 10, the code inside between these two curly brackets runs. Okay, let's just run this code to make sure that it works. See, equality with it was false, and then the if equality, it's false, which is what I wrote down over here. It didn't know, it went directly to the else. Now this you use a lot in,
especially in FTC, when you want to, especially in the autonomous and both autonomous and the driver controlled part, because also because the boolean that you use for the buttons, that's how you tell them what to do. If a button is pressed, you need to do something, do a specific function. If B is pressed, you need to do something. Else, don't do anything. So, and you can also use them in the autonomous. For example, if you have a distance sensor, and tell them if this distance is less than half, you turn around.
This is very similar to the Lego functions. If you've been to FLL, which is the version of FRC, they have the switch block that an information, and then if it's true, it does the top part. If it's not true, it does the bottom part.
Now, you can, thanks to this, that's one of the important parts of the programming in FTC, at basics. Now,
then I'll explain to you is while loops. Now, loops you also use quite a lot. What's this code is that it only runs once. Let's say if we open this, we'll just delete this again. We'll do system ran once. We run it. It only goes once. Now, that would work if you want to write down code for 2.5 minutes. So what you do is you have a while loop. Now, while loops run with repeating until specific boolean is true. Now, to show an example, we have while we open an if statements. While, let's say, wait, then we'll create an integer distance is equals to 0. While distance is then 10, run code. Now code will run repeatedly until distance will be greater than 10. Okay, so let's say we'll just show you that it runs repeatedly. We'll print out runs more than once. Now, if we were to run it, it would just go for whatever, and let's run this. Yeah, see that it just keeps on running, and it might get kind of problematic for the computer, so we'll terminate it. You can press the button if you want to stop it from running. Now this is what you mostly use all of the programming in FTC. You have a big while loop, and inside it you have all the code that you want to run in both the autonomous and in the driver controlled part. Now, let's say that while the distance is less than 10, it runs. Okay. Now what we do is, thirdly, we say robot moves 1 meter forward. A distance by 1 each time. How do we do that? We take the distance, we say its value, the best value of distance, plus 1. What this basically does, let's say if distance is, if 2, it darn it, hold on.
Okay.
If distance is 2, I'll say the distance value is 2 plus 1. It'll always go up by 1. If we run this now, we would see that run 10 times. Now this is very useful. You can use for lots of things. If you have a code run a specific amount of times, you can see that the distance always goes up by 1. If you want to go a specific amount of files, you can the jump up by 1. That's how the autonomous basically works. Now, the while loop, should we explain?
No.
No.
Another form of while loops that is called while. It runs the code once, and then at the end it checks the
problem is that it checks it and then runs it.
Yeah.
Then runs it, checks it, and then runs it. So do loops, which are almost the same thing, except that you do while distance is less than 10. Now
this one won't print all because the distance is already 11 from the previous few lines of code. So we will change it. We will run once.
That the distance is greater than 0. Okay, it moves 1 meter back. Now, meter distance backwards, distance is equals minus 1. It will also run 10 times. The only difference is that this one checks in the end. Distance was already 0. It would only find out after it ran it once. Should use while loops most of the time.
Yeah, but just have that there is another type.
Another type, and this is a semicolon at the end that you should be aware of. Now, do the same thing that we just did, that we have a distance that always goes up by 1. But
you want it to run a specific amount of times. Like you want it to run.
There's creating a variable that it runs, and changing at the end. You see here on the right, enter is equals to 0, while counter is less than 10. Right. The number and go up by 1. So it would start off 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we'll stop. And this thing does the exact same thing, except it has count is. I'll have that number times. Count to 0, and while count is 10, count plus. It's not.
Now, if you have any questions, we're gonna check the questions in the private chat.
Still.
Good job. Yep. And
No, okay. Yay. For loops, Hmm? Okay, so let's just move on. We will show examples if we had one here.
Yeah.
I
There you go.
just one example of a while loop, and we've got here the difference between for and while loops. Let's say an example of a while loop. It's similar to until x. Here is we have as well while solved is false. It gives user a number. If the is 3141, make it true. So what here is I get input, which is a number, let's say 1. It will repeat itself until solved true. Okay, so no matter what I do, solved will always be true. But when I enter the number they want, it becomes false, and then it continues on.
Yeah, and runs the rest of the code.
You could do this similarly with an X, like a button that only like erases itself until you press it, and then the moment you press it, it continues on with the code. This is one we had. Now another example. Here we just explained the difference that we already said, the difference between whiles and fors, similarities between them. Next, we'll talk about functions and slash methods. They're pretty similar. This you're going to see a lot. For example, one of the questions about the upfront and but
that's how you actually use that. That's the basic idea.
This is defining the function, similar to how you define like a while or a loop. Okay. The scope, what's the name of the function, and the inputs. I'll elaborate about all of these now. You have static, void, print message, and then a certain text. Now, the first you don't need to know yet.
We're going to talk about them more later.
We're going to talk about them in the last information about object-oriented programming. But basically, write them automatically. Every time you have a function, just write public static. That's like saying, in the meantime, it's like saying int. It's just how you create a function. Then you got the next thing, which is void.
Now the next thing is void, which is what the function will return as a value when you use it in the main code. This you use after the entire main function. You use it around here. You can create, for example.
No, wait.
We have actually
Anyway.
Okay.
We'll just show it here. Let's see. For main, oh wait, no I didn't. This is your, okay. Now, functions themselves, you write out the main, not inside the code that runs. You write static, then thing will explain now. Okay, so, and I mean, what this does is you write like main. In function, there's preset text that runs the moment you call it. Basically, this means is I have a function that was here you could see. We'll just move these away in the meantime. They're not important. What is this is a function. Okay. Now, for codes, every time I call it in the main. So every time I write down print message, these 4 lines will play. Okay, this is good for uses. If you want, if you have a very complicated, keep repeating. If you want to print this as a function repeatedly, in different cases, you could just make it as a function. A hard calculation that you want to do, and a lot of space, you can make it as a function, and then you just
whenever you want to, and then you actually like store your code. Some stuff are better used as functions, and I think there's some stuff that you can only do functions. For example, we will talk about it soon, but the return command, it will
okay, so this is a very simple function because it doesn't have a return and it has an input. That's what we showed here. If you want to return, it's just void. Okay, so an example of a function that does have an input. Okay, one now. It looks exactly the same thing. Public, static, void, input, and then parentheses. If you use an input, you write will be. For example, I want the person to in a number. Now, in itself, I use this number and use it specifically for what I need. Let's say I want system dot prime number -1. Okay. Now take whatever number I put and these things. How this works? It works just like print message. What? Yeah, it works just like print message, where I just write down the name parentheses. But that I write the name input. Parentheses, I write the thing that asked me. Let's say in number. I add, let's say 3. Now, if I run C function, this is a function. Then the number I put inside, it squared it by itself, and it -1. It gave me 8. Now you could put any number you want. It has a varieties. For example, if you want to print out, let's say, you inches, and you want to convert them into centimeters, you create a function that's called, let's say, you create a function that's called void 2 inches, and then it gets in double, because fractions sometimes, centimeters. Now, it gets a specific number, and will convert it to inches. It will do things like so. Centimeters divided by 2.54. Yeah. Now on this, wait, it doesn't. Oh, yeah, I didn't put in a number. Let's say I write down 2 inches.
2.54.
2.54. No, 5.84. I guess. Yeah, it's not. We'll show the inches version of it.
About 2.3 inches.
Also, another thing you could do is that you can add in multiple information. You don't have to add only one thing. You can have public, static, print times. What to do? You can, let's say, double A double B, double C. So then you space them apart with a comma. Yeah. And then you can add, when you write this down over here, you do print times, and then in numbers in order. Let's say you don't want to just print numbers or do specific functions. You want to use functions to calculate things for you. Let's say, for example, numbers, multiply them by each other, print them, send back to the user. Let's say I want to do int a is to multiply 1 and 2. Sorry, able to. No.
Yeah.
So double A will be the function of 1 and 2. Now the function itself, how root functions work. It looks just like a normal function that we did until now, but at a void, we write the type of variable we want to return. Let's say, for example, we want to return stress, by the way. It's like double and stuff. Public string, and then we say name. Sure, doesn't really matter. Okay, what we do is write return, and we return. Okay, for example, return Paolo. Okay, now what we'll do when I
this function has no input parameters, but it has an output parameter. It is very important to have in mind when you create a code, and when you program bigger stuff like a robot and stuff like that. And
functions you use not only for organizing your code, which is something that's very important. Use it for, let's see, you've already used this actually. If you think math power is actually a function that does it get two numbers and returns to you the multiplication of those two numbers. Now, you can't just do this. You can't just name. If this, nothing will happen. Nothing happened. You have to do is you have to, let's say, have a string, my name equals to name.
Think of the value it returns as the value of the function. Like if you define a to be 5, and then you do n ln, and like the function as a value, the return for a function as a value that it gives back.
Basically what this one here is takes name and replaces it with the thing I return. So doing something like name, like doing Paolo. Okay, it won't run. So let's say if I were just to print the name, system.out.println my name.
Now, Java is a language that is case sensitive, which means that a capital letter is just not the same as a smaller case letter.
Yeah, something that's very important, like just now. If you do something like int, no, this work. If you do something like system out, it won't work because system is not caps locked. It doesn't have a capital S. String also doesn't work. This is
it might give you some problems if you write stuff like int a, and then you want to print a, and it just won't work. Well,
also the variables themselves have caps lock differences. Functions, return functions. Here's some more examples of them. Say this small function without a return. You put in your age and your height, and if 18 and above 1.70 m, it'll print you're allowed to pass. Else print you're not allowed to pass. That's just one of the example, but you use it for a lot of things. Let's say in RAM we had a function that would take the diameter of the wheel, distance needs to drive, and the units using. Let's say if it was, it would be a boolean that was true. It was something like this. It was a public static get distance. When it had the diameter, the distance, it had a boolean that was in degrees, and would return the distance they had to drive to get the amount of degrees the wheel had to spin to get to that distance. I don't remember the exact calculations.
Yeah, it's stuff like what 1,400 because
No.
encoder.
Yeah, that's it. Basically, just this is a specific example. I'm gonna return, let's say, diameter divide distance.
And then we had like, I have no idea. I don't remember at all.
You do things like two returns, like if is the
Okay. By the way, you can ask questions if you'd like. Just we make something like something is not clear. Like we're teachers.
Sort of how it was. It said if degrees is true, it would return distance over diameter times 360. And true. Yeah. Turn distance over diameter times 2 time math dot pi. Another example that shows you how you use and inputs. Let's just. I have some more examples here, like we showed. We already explained. You could also do this directly. You don't have to give it a value and then. Let's say print line 10 by 2 and add 1 to it. If you already use these, yeah, we said that system print line is a function math.pi, math.power, math square root.
String is
Yeah.
a function?
No, it's not.
No?
It's
Subject?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this was another example that we did. We last x, the current x, and the time difference, and the answer would be the physical calculation of the speed. One thing is important to know about that have returns. First, you have to always return the same type that you said. Let's say I can't just return a double when I wrote down string. I can return down means when I wrote down int.
Also,
That's very important.
yeah, and return also stops the function. Like when you use return, it will stop the function. The function will
won't
go back to the
continue.
main. Now that can like embed your code if you're not aware of it. Also, if you write that you're gonna return a function, you have to return a function. Like you return something.
The program will run an error if you don't run anything. Like if you do what we almost did here, that you, if degrees is true, return diameter without an else. Pop up an error saying that it doesn't necessarily return a
You need
number.
to add a return function
Like
statement.
it doesn't be anything. You could also do return 0 if you don't have anything to do, but you have to have a return always. Okay. Now arrays. Arrays are and those they only restore one piece of information. Arrays are basically a group of values that you can store at a specific order. It's like a library that has books. It's like a bookshelf that has stored one after the other. A specific number under each book telling you where it is. Now, if you look at this example over here, you've got the specific values. Let's say 40. These are just integers, and here are their indexes, which is basically their addition. Now, this is the visual example. This is the actual code of it.
Yeah.
This is it. Now, enter, and then 2 square brackets. The name of it, and then equals, and then you have 2 brackets with all the values with commas in between.
Yeah, you can write it in a few different ways. Like you can define it in a few different ways. For example, we can start by defining it like with the amount of elements. Element is like its value inside an array, and you can and you can define those values later.
Hold on. Turns out let's stop working. Well, let's just wait. Sure. Second. We're just gonna. Okay. The specific examples of arrays. Say we've got of strings, which is the days of the week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Now, something to note, I wrote this down right here, is that it's from 0, not from 1. So our array has 9 values. The last value will always be 8. Very important. There's a lot of bugs that come with it. Okay, the first one's 0, and then 1, and then right over here. So like array name, the second one, number 2, will be 63 instead of 55. Okay, let's just go to 2 examples. We have an array of strings. It's the week, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. String names.
Here you can see the other way I mentioned on how to do an array. You can see that you string and then 5. 5 is 5 elements. There are 5 elements in this array.
So basically, yeah, you can also you could just do by saying string days of week and then giving all the information, or use string, you put the brackets on here or on here, and say new string with 5 elements. Basically leaves the array empty, and then you could at each, like if you don't want to take the array as a whole, but you have specific pieces from it, you do the array, open brackets, and then the piece of information you want to get or change. For example, over here, name 0 equals, basically took the value, changed it. It's sort of like its own, it's on its own. So I think I have an example of it over here. Yeah. So here, if we run this code, okay, so what we did here was print line name 4, the 4th one, number 4, which is Jerry. Oops, Jerry. The 5th piece of information, but the one that is under the index of 4. And day of week 1, which is Monday. Okay. Then, if you want to go, hold on, let's just close this. You use each one of these. If you want to use these, you can then, if you add a number, it will have its own specific own value. It's like its own variable. Another thing that's worth to point out, for loops, use something that a lot of people do. Let's say if you have an array of another name, the value which is 0. Okay, you hold on a more example. Say I have a C of number 4 location. Let's say so 1, 3, 3, 5, and so on. Check all of these and all of these values. So I use for loops. I do for int, say, I equals to 0. Y is less than the values it has over here, which is 6 plus. See, this for loop, like we said before, will run 6 times. Each time the I will go up by 1 at the end, like the explanation we showed earlier with the for loops. This each time by 1, and so what we do is we could, let's say if location I equals 0 is equals to, say, 5, we'll print something out. Okay. We're gonna to finish QA by around 7, around 10 minutes before, till like 6:50 your time.
Yeah.
And you've 10 minutes for questions for Q&A. Okay. Take location I. Okay. Location I is equals to 3. What this does basically, it goes through all of the variables, and it's going up by 1 until one of these variables is 3. Let's just let's run this. Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry. See, what happened was it went through all of the values in the array, and went 0, 1, then it, this is equals to 3, so print that it is, that the index number 2 is 3, also is 3, so index number 3 is 3, and this is a very useful way for going through all the variables in a loop, and in an array. Okay, so we're just gonna move the next thing, because we have like a bit of time. Wait, sorry. There you go. OOP. Now, OOP is probably one of the most used things in DC. All the time, you don't even know it. You use it. We did it many times. Wait, why is there an error? No, okay. Here, right? Hello?
Okay, good. Now,
Wait, I don't know. Oh, okay, they hear us.
okay. In the actual code, this is the most crucial part of the programming, especially in the FRC and in general. Like, you have to use this when you program anything that's slightly bigger than like ordinary 1 plus 1 is 2. You can use this. We're gonna talk about what is OOP in the next one. Okay. Now OOP is object-oriented programming. It's the idea that you can create a class and use it as an object rather than a class with code. Well, it will have code, but not the code that you're gonna use to leave there. And you can define functions and parameters and use them later. It is one of the. It's just so important. You can define a vehicle, and then the parameters are for example, speed and stuff like, and for example, I don't know, diameter of the wheels, and you can use a function to change the speed or to move backwards or stuff like that. Now, since is it's more of an idea. You can take object and inherit its parameters and functions. You just write class X extends Y on the top, I think, and then take all parameters and functions. Here you can see this is
the thing that we said that we'd talk about later, the public static. Now, let's just go back to our code. When we have multiple classes, you want some things to be private and only you can touch them. Them can be accessed by other classes. Let's say the functions that we had before, public, static, void, function 1. This is accessed by any other class because it says public. If we were to write something like private, function 2, this can be accessed by main. It can't be accessed by other classes that could be using this. Now, where do you see this? Oh wait, there is one here. This, you see this a lot of the time. You, let's say, for example, we do this already. with math.power. Math.power, math is a class of Java, and we do dot power, we're taking the power function, the power class from it, and using it. We also in system print line in FPC. See, we use this for, let's say, motors. You have for motors, and then you can do things like set power. You use other classes instead of having to write everything down from every single time. Now, let's just show a specific example of it. Say,
Code. Okay.
how does it work? Basically, let's say we have a class called robot, okay? Robot, it's like motor, it's like scanner. Scan is another class we've used. So how does it work? You do the name of the class, the name and new class. Okay, so let's add scanner name equals to new scanner. That same thing in principle. You're making a new instance of that class. Okay?
New object.
A new object, like a specific one of that class. Some programs, they have, some classes, they have specific information in them, like new scanner system in, before, like parameters and functions. By the way, if scanner is giving you an error, if errors in general, you can push over them, and it'll give you things you do to fix them. Let's say import scanner, you press it, and it'll import scanner automatically. Class, create robot.
But you have to.
Yeah, then you have to create it.
Yeah, we don't. There's no actual class named robot. You have to do this one yourself.
A specific a specific example we use in the competition. Let's say DC motor and left is equal to new DC motor, and then give it specific parameters. It changes between each class that you take.
Yeah,
I say in the competition, the number you put in is
the input number for when you
it's
connect
the port that
yeah,
the motor is connected to.
port.
So let's say if it's connected to port 2, you do new 2, and you have a new DC motor left wheel that is that motor in port 2. Now you could do lots of things like left wheel dot.
Now it's not exactly working right now because I don't have the code.
We don't. There isn't an actual class called DC motor that we have, but like not Eclipse.
Not right here, not on my computer right now.
So you do two things in another class. Let's say we create here another class called public bike and class class DC motor. Sure. Okay, in this class we have to create it in
you have to create
its own class. And maybe we said in the beginning, the project is holding a bunch of classes together. So we'll create a class, let's say DC motor, and we have a bunch of. Okay, I'll have an example function that's called public. So if other classes could see it, you got public and private, and then there's static and not static. If it's static, then they don't have to create an instance of the class. Like they have to do a new DC motor. Just put it directly. They could just do DC motor dot, but And okay, how do you? Okay. So it won't be static because you need to actually have the DC motor to. Yeah. Okay. You actually have the DC motor to run this function. So for example, public set power and got the power you want to have it, and their class it's a function, so you have to have void or things. Now that you have its own variable that's private, other people can see it. It is of the robot. If it's in power. Okay. Now this function, what it'll do, it will take the number in, and it'll take power and do the number we put in, and then we do something like public void print number. What this will do. Now, this is a very basic usage. If we were to,
it's not an in.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
Type.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we were to create a new DC motor, set power, and left wheel dot no, set power we did. Hold on, there's a name.
Oh, print number.
Print number.
Okay.
Dot print number. Now, if we were to run this, do the first function, it would change power to 0.5, and then would do the second function, will be to print it. We'll more examples of these in the third webinar, but all you need to know is that you take the class, create an instance of it, and then use functions in it. Okay, hold on. We'll go back here.
So this is a prime example.
This we just showed. It's the differences between private and public, but we're out of time, so we sort of explained it already. Only the same class could use.
Model is like a project, if I remember correctly. Yeah, model is a project. When you take like an eclipse, it will tell you the object.
Okay, so that's
the end. Yeah. Any questions?
Now we have the 10 minutes left for the Q&A. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold on. Let's just. Hold on. Go back to. Here we go. Are there any questions?
I can stop sharing.
Oh, it was.
And then.
Okay, let's see Q&A. Oh, there have been questions.
No, those are the same ones. Yeah.
No.
Now, you won't be able to find the slideshow online. We will upload it.
We will load it.
Yeah, you're gonna have it, but I don't think you're gonna find it online unless Gabriel will upload it.
Which he's planning to.
Yeah. I think you're gonna have to ask her. I think there are. Okay.
There's a couple.
Check. Okay. Now. Yeah. So if you have any questions, we're also gonna give both of our emails. If you have any more questions, you can always ask. We'll be able.
Will be available.
Yeah, we can't promise how long it will take us to respond, but imagine it will be like between a day and two or something like that.
No, we're not that busy. And we also will be giving a couple of questions that you could do if you want to practice the subject, if you want to go over the webinar itself.
Yeah. Also, an important thing I think we forgot, like, you haven't program in Java, you will have to download the Java JDK, I think.
Yeah,
it's the latest one.
There's you could just check it up online. There's
okay. Yeah, you will have to download Eclipse unless you can technically use other programs. We think Eclipse is it's the best one in our opinion.
It corrects your errors if you've seen.
Now, we're gonna link to Gabriella, and she will send you a few important links that we use to learn our programming skills, and a few more questions, like if you want to practice it. Now, I think like what, a month until that competition.
No, so.
Yeah, basically everything for the first seminar. We really recommend like practicing it before, especially the third one, because the third one is gonna be
move on from the main thing.
We're gonna try to move like a lot quicker, because there's just a lot of material in the third one, and if you won't like be able to keep up, it will cause problems.